As a preliminary matter, this is Woody Knight, Chair of the Newbury Planning Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Planning Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Peter Pecos,
Yes, sir.
Larry Murphy,
Here.
Mary Stone,
Yes.
Scott Kinter. I don't see him, but he should be joining us soon. Steve Mangian.
Here.
Hi, Steve. And town staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Kristen Grubbs, Planning Director.
Yes.
And as noted, Daniel won't be with us this evening, but we wish him well. Good evening. February 5th, 2025, open meeting of the Newbury Planning Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, which extends the governor's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL 30A 20, until March 31st, 2025. For this meeting, the Newbury Planning Board is convening by video conference via Zoom as posted on the Planning Board's agenda, which can be found at the town's website. You may join us by going to http://zoom.us and entering meeting ID number 832-7141-3056, passcode 108790, or by calling 1-929-205-6099 US and entering the meeting ID number and passcode when prompted. Please note that the meeting is being recorded and that attendees are participating by video and/or telephone conference. Meeting is also being broadcast live through local access cable channel 9 on Zoom and at www.tnctv.org. And the recording will be available on the Newbury Access YouTube channel. Meeting business ground rules. Before we turn to the first item on the agenda, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. As chair, I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. After speakers conclude their remarks, I'll go down the list of board members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. The meeting tonight does not include any public hearings. However, after board members have spoken, I will afford the public an opportunity to comment and/or ask questions. I'll see questions and comments through the Zoom raised hand function in the order in which people click on the raised hand button. Finally, each vote in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And I see Scott. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Woody.
Yes.
I'm late.
Yeah, no worries. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. All right, so that brings us to the first. I just did the preliminary, Scott, so we'll get into the first item on the agenda under new business. Gadsden Lane residential subdivision. Request to approve closeout, including review and approval of as-built plan and other conditions. So we should have Adam True, the manager of Gadsden Lane LLC, and Doug DeShanes, or another representative.
It's just gonna be me tonight. Doug can't join.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Would you like to update us on your project, please? Where it's tells me.
So, we have submitted the final as-built and letter of completion from the engineers for Gadsden Lane, and we're trying to close out the subdivision and let the private way turn over to itself and turn over the homeowners association to the residents at Gadsden Lane. And I think what we have a bunch of paperwork in the background between myself and Kristen in the planning office. We have the recorded declarant, homeowners trust and association, which is actually going to be re-recorded per Martha's revisions. So that was submitted in a few days ago. We have the sign in the roadway was approved by DPS director, James Surratt. We have a screen planting that was done with the neighbor on Marianne Spacciapoli. So we have some photos of that showing that it was in place and is still surviving today. And I think I would make an assumption that the board may want to come do a site walk or view the site prior to closeout. And that's just an assumption. You may not want to, but otherwise it's just substantially complete. And the biggest item that we have in front of us is the tripartite agreement. The tripartite agreement is put into place to make sure that the town, myself, and the bank form an agreement to make sure that we can complete the roadway as per plan. So that was all done, and we're now sitting with a signed as-built that we substantially completed the road to spec. Martha had brought up that we may need to extend the tripartite agreement, but my attorney, Doug DeShane, kind of disagreed that at this point to extend or to reinitiate an agreement that it's already expired when we're at the point of closing out the subdivision really doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's going to be something that's at the board's discretion. So the tripartite agreement, again, just make sure that we are bound and we do what we said we were going to do, but that's already done, in place, and as an existing signed as-built. So we don't see the need to extend the tripartite agreement when there's no longer any funds or escrow that's been held from a bank at this point. So I think that's kind of the biggest item on the agenda for you guys to weigh in on.
Kristen, do you have, before I ask the board if they have any questions, do you have any other information the board needs to know, Kristen?
No, I don't. A number of those documents, I know I've sent the as-built plan. That was the first document that arrived a couple weeks ago. So I included that with the board's packet on Thursday. The other documents have come in this week, and Adam came in, we've had a conversation. So there's a number of documents I haven't shared with you all yet. I just figured we'd have the conversation tonight, hear from Adam. I'll package everything up, send it out for you all to review. You can
Good.
certainly, if you have questions tonight, obviously, and as Adam said, I think it would, probably, if people are interested in a site visit, that, is normally something the board would do when closing out a project. And then I think generally, asking for peer review, there's still an open escrow account for the peer review that went forward during the construction. That's still open. So it would be, if the board's interested in having Joe Sirwaka review, that would be customary as well.
Yep, okay. All right, I'll start with the board. Pete, do you have any questions for Adam? or Kristen?
Yes,
And,
so, yeah, I
and
think,
Kristen, say what?
thanks so much, Woody. Adam, thanks for being here. I think, yes, a site walk is in order. I'm glad that you mentioned the neighbor. I'd like to have a conversation with her to see if she's satisfied with the barrier or the landscaping modifications that have been done. I think that's probably very beneficial to everyone. It sounds like the homeowners docs need to be reviewed and signed off before things are concluded there. And as to whether the tripartite needs to be extended or not, prior to closeout, I'd have to defer to town council because that's kind of unusual. Usually that's done after. So those would be my concerns. But yeah, I think a sidewalk is very, very important. And it sounds like there's just some pieces that need to be buttoned up here.
All right, thank you. Larry, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I agree with what Pete just said. I do have one question, actually. So are there any funds still being held under the tripartite agreement? I'm not clear on that.
There are not, no. I think honestly, what happened was. This is the way I got it from the bank. The bank had an initial loan to go ahead and do the roadway. I ended up taking some of the funds from that roadway, and then I ended up just finishing the roadway in my own cash and closing out the loans. So what happened in essence at that point was somehow they released everything, and there was no escrow held because we didn't use all their funds all the way to the end of the project. And I discharged all their mortgages. So I think something just slipped through the cracks, honestly. It was supposed to be, normally we'd complete the stages and draw from the bank right to the end, and that didn't happen. So there was never any escrow money held. But the essence of the tripartite agreement is to, assure the board, the town, and the bank, as well as myself, that we all get the project done. So my attorney's position is that he's seen this happen before. Tripartites don't extend if you're coming to close out. So this is something that probably town council will have to weigh in on. And, either agree to disagree or put the tripartite back into place. And then close it out then. So I think it's something you guys have the ability to say we don't need. That's my understanding from Doug, but you'll have to actually get the answer from Lisa or town council.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mary, do you have any questions? or
I
comments?
don't, Woody. I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Scott? And you're muted, Scott, just so you know.
Thanks, Woody.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I would say, I think that probably the whole tripart agreement issue could probably be solved with Lisa and Doug, having a conversation. And maybe there's some middle ground there, but again, I agree with Pete. I think we need to, really lean on our council. But again, if the project, is done, it's complete. If everyone's happy with it, including the neighbor, I think there's some middle ground to be had. And then my question, Kristen, would be to you, is there, there are escrow funds still, in the account. Does Joe actually have to inspect anything else? And I do think one final site visit would be beneficial to all, and a conversation with the neighbor, I think would be really wise. But back to you, Kristen. Does Joe have to inspect anything else?
Yeah, I think sort of a normal or
I can answer that,
customary.
I think. So Joe
Here,
did come for,
Adam,
he came for a
sorry,
final
I
site
just-
walk.
Adam, I'm just gonna finish talking.
I'm sorry.
Since the question came to me. Generally, Joe would review the as-built, review the engineer certification, and assure that what was built on the ground matches the as-built. And Joe would provide a letter to the planning board after his review.
Got it. And we're still waiting for that letter?
We haven't, I wanted to hear from you all if you would like Joe to do that. We just got the materials this week.
So you're looking for a green light from us to go ahead and send it to Joe.
Yep.
Yep.
That seems to me to be the appropriate course, and maybe schedule a site walk.
Agreed.
I think that would be great. Sidewalk would be great.
Yes, do we want to schedule the sidewalk now, or do we want to communicate via email through Krista?
I mean, based on the weather, I think we should probably do a site walk in June.
Okay. Is that all right, Adam? No, I'm just kidding. So,
I would say as soon as possible, that would be a benefit to everybody.
well, it's up to the board. If we want to hash that out now, we can. If we want to communicate through Kristen, we can do it that way. What would the board prefer?
I would suggest communicating through Kristen.
Okay,
I agree.
so
Yeah.
Kristen, just put that on your list of things. We'll figure out a site walk for the near future here. When
One thing I would add is that,
go ahead. Adam.
Joe has been out since when the road was done. And we just did a final kind of, site walk around with the bounds and everything were there. But, he has not reviewed any of Scott's final as-bills, so I think that's probably where he's at. But he's seen the roadway in its finished condition.
Yep. All right, thank you. And we usually send the as-built out to him for review, so he'll be getting those as well.
And Kristen, did you say that the council is still reviewing some of the legal documents?
I have not submitted them to town council yet, but she has office hours on Monday, so I'm hoping to get some time with her then.
Good.
And if not, we can coordinate with Doug if needed.
Okay.
Thanks, Kristen.
All right, thank you, everyone. If no one else has any comments or questions, we'll see you, Adam. If
All
it's not in 2 weeks, if it's not in 2 weeks, it'll be first meeting in March, okay?
All right, thanks for your time. Have a good night.
Have a good night, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks.
Turn to the next item on the agenda. Old business, Florence Bushy Lane. Owner Barry Koska. Trustee Bushy Real Estate. Bushy Real Estate Trust. Request to approve performance bond for surety to reconstruct the subdivision road between 21 and 27 Newman Road. Per the previously approved subdivision plan. So for this matter, I think Ben Perez is here and.
Yes, I am.
And TJ Melvin.
Yes, I'm here as well.
Okay, great. Would one of you like to start and update us on what's going on?
Yeah, I can start.
Thank you.
So a few weeks ago, we had submitted a bond estimate prepared by our Millennium Engineering in conjunction with Ben. That's been submitted to the board and reviewed by Joe Sawaka. We did receive a review from Joe, I believe it was earlier this week. He agreed with the overall numbers of the estimate itself. He did offer a couple other comments that we can address here with the board. I guess if we go through them in order. Actually, I'm sorry. Has the board had a chance to see Joe's letter by chance?
We did.
Yeah, I sent it out on Monday. We received that Monday morning, so I sent it out to the board and to you guys on Monday.
Yep.
Okay.
Or Tuesday, it might have been.
So
Dan will send the reveal party, but she wants to know the status.
so the first item, Joe's kind of stating that he agrees with the numbers proposed for the cost to construct the road. Item 2, he's talking about a couple structures that are currently on site. The first one being a shed that's between 2 of the lots. Kind of hands off on that is, it's in plots where to be conveyed, there'd have to be, some sort of cross easement between the 2 lots. The structure's been in place for about 10 years. So really doesn't have any bearing or effect on being able to install the road or affecting the road design.
We're-
Also in that comment, he mentions a retaining wall portion of the driveway. Sorry, I wasn't sure if someone was talking. I got a little feedback, but
Hey, TJ, I don't know if the rest of the board is having as much difficulty as I am.
Yeah.
You know, hearing you articulate the issues, but you are broken up, TJ, and I'm not sure. Maybe Ben could take it, or maybe you could call in.
Yeah, no, every time I went to say something about you breaking up, you started talking again. So either maybe try
Yeah.
again, and if you break up again, Ben can pick up for you.
yeah, no worries. Ben, I don't know if you want.
Still, it's not.
Address some of those if I log out and in.
Yeah, I'm here. I can take over if need be. Just give me one quick second.
Thank you. Sorry about that, TJ. We can't hear you.
I can share Joe's letter if would that be helpful for the board?
That would be helpful. Yes, please, Kristen, if you could.
Okay.
Open the door, Harry. Do not tell any of those letters or I will wipe. I think go away.
Ben, I don't know if you have a TV going in the background.
No longer. We just shut it off. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
How's that?
Excellent.
Perfect. All right. So would you like me to pick up where TJ left off?
Yes.
Okay. I'll start with number one, if you'd like.
Yes, please.
So number one, the overall bond estimate, Joe just verified that the dollar amounts in the bond estimate was satisfactory based on the plans that we provided. Number two, as seen in the field, those existing conditions, however, there's an existing encroachment structure that would need to be addressed. What Joe's referring to is there's an existing potting shed on the back corner of Kurt Garish's property, and it extends into one of the lots that are on the new subdivision. It straddles the line. Currently, Kurt's family of the own both properties, and it'll be very easy to do an easement between the two properties. And that really kind of is a side thing from this roadway project. Next item was there's an existing stone wall in the driveway for lot one that extends into the proposed private way. The engineer should address the removal and the driveway relocation, which we do plan on removing that retaining wall that is in the right of way. There will be a small retaining wall required to be able to maintain access to lot one, which is the existing barn's lower level driveway, which will be a small 4-foot retaining wall that will be put in on the lot, not on the roadway, and will not affect the grading or any of the elevations on the roadway plan. If I'm going too fast, just slow me down. I can answer any questions if you'd like.
Ben, could I suggest that we actually look at the plot plan as you're talking, just so you can point out
Yeah.
these areas?
Absolutely. Kristen, you
Does that
probably
make
have an
sense,
easier.
Kristen?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll put this down, I think. So we can,
Please.
let's see. Sorry, it'll just take me a minute to figure this out. There we go. Well, so which one do you want me to pull up? The existing, the original survey, or?
Probably the yes, the as-built that was done by Everett fairly recently.
Let's see.
Kristen, I don't know if you guys can hear me any better. I can try pulling it up if you'd like.
Okay, I don't have anything called the as-built, so I'm not sure which one you're referring to. The
TJ,
existing
we-
conditions.
We just heard you much better. Maybe if
Okay.
you could
Yeah.
share that with us.
All right. Yeah, it's funny. My phone works better than the computer. Hold on one second. Let me here. Could I possibly get permission to share?
I think Peter's working on it now.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, we've got just some new settings, so that's
Yeah.
why I'm.
Kristen, actually, you're gonna have to do the sharing,
Yeah,
because the co-host
there's
cannot share.
supposed to be a host setting that allows you to allow an individual to
Yeah.
share, but, okay. All right. All right, is this the one?
Yes, that's,
TJ and Ben, is that?
yes,
does
that
this
is the
work?
plan, yep.
Okay. Make it a little bigger. How's that?
We lost the plan and we're looking at the declaration of trust.
Oh,
It was right after you found it. It popped up and then it disappeared.
sorry about that. I got it?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So whoever would like to continue, TJ or Ben? We were
Go ahead,
at
TJ.
All right.
I'll let
shed.
you take over.
Yeah, so we can start kind of at the shed. It's kind of in the location between lot 8A and lot 3, yep, right where you're circling there. And then the other area that we were discussing was at the entrance to the site on lot 1. You can see a portion of the yep, right there, the retaining wall and driveway come into the right of way. So both of these areas, you know, we believe that we can, especially the shed, can address, you know, through easements between the two lot owners. With regards to the retaining wall, the plan would be to, you know, cut back the retaining wall and leave it outside the right of way, and only allow grading for the road itself within the right of way. Ben, if I misspoke on that part, but I believe that's what we had discussed, is that will remain outside the right of way and allow you to construct the road.
That's correct, TJ. The only retaining wall we would need would be on lot 1, kind of coming off of where that existing little driveway is that enters the lower level of the lot 1 barn. There would be a 4-foot max retaining wall there. And then there would be some grading up to the road from that point, no more than a 3-to-1 grade. But that would be something that would be on the lot, not in the right of way.
so the retaining wall would be here? Is this?
It would run right along the lot line between the right of way and lot 1, starting with that kind of L-shaped retaining wall that exists now that's kind of parallel to the road. It would start, yeah, that there, it would come off the back of that and then run probably 30 feet or so, but that would be, like I said, on the lot side of that lot line.
Um, do you have any other information, TJ?
Yep, so there was one other, I guess two other items that had listed. Um, so that was 1 and 2. It says the engineer should address whether there is an encroachment from 27 Newman Road onto lot 1. Yeah, just says some towns maps show a possible driveway extending across the lot line. Based on this plan and kind of some other information we've seen and Ben's experience of the site, we don't believe that there's any encroachment. Again, if it was, there would kind of be secondary to anything to do with the road. Obviously, if we find that there is an encroachment, we would want to deal with that, but it wouldn't prevent any ability to construct the road.
Okay, and are you speaking on the right-hand side of the barn home, which leads to the propane tanks? Is that what you're talking about?
The right-hand side of lot 1.
Okay. It is tight there, driving by, but I'm not sure if you have encroachment or not either.
And then the final comment from Joe was, the board may want to bond, the board may want to bond the bond estimate adjusted to include the removal of these items. And kind of our stance is, especially the shed and relative to the lot line between lot 1 and 27 Newman, those items would just be dealt with outside of the construction of the road. As far as the retaining wall, I mean, I know Ben knows that has to be removed to really even start the road. That may or may not have been included in whatever he had for site excavation costs or anything relative to the estimate that's in place. But other than that, I think, Joe seems to be on board with the bond estimate that we have in front of you. And, we'd be willing to discuss any of the other items that he has in any more detail if the board has any questions.
Okay. All right, thank you. Kristen, is there any other information before I ask the board questions that you know of right now? And if not, we'll just move on to the board.
Well, I didn't know if the plan board wanted TJ or Ben to discuss the fire truck sketch that was submitted by Steve Sawyer.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go through that quickly if the board wants. So we'd been asked to just run a fire truck turning template showing the fire truck being able to enter, navigate, and exit the site, which we had sent along. We found that the truck can enter and exit the site without really running off pavement or needing to cross over any items that may be an obstruction. They smoothly make it around the cul-de-sac and back out the road. I can address any other specific questions the board may have on that.
Pete, would you like to
Yeah.
ask something?
Could we take a look at that yeah. And if we can just enlarge that a little bit, just so I can understand this.
Yeah, so if we start with the one on the left, that'd be entering and kind of navigating through the site.
Right.
Big enough.
So, TJ, if you could, am I seeing the construction of a wall alongside the existing lot with the house? That there?
That
Yes.
No, I think that was just kind of some old hatching that had kind of carried through onto this sketch.
Actually, that is a drainage swale on the proposed design for the road. That's what that is.
Okay, and then the other marking that we see on the lower section of this to the left of whether does that represent also a swale?
Yes, it does. Yeah, there's drainage there. And then Carrie, you can see the D in the middle of the road.
Yep.
That's a culvert pipe that crosses
Great.
across the road.
Great. Okay, cool. Now, TJ, with regards to this, I know that there's been conversation as to whether the roadway should be 20 or 22 foot to allow for turning and such. And, I think our the feeling of the board is we always want to make sure that public safety is always maintained and appropriate. And if you could just kind of talk about that for a couple of seconds.
Yeah, so what we have here is kind of showing the truck starting on Newman Road, turning into the proposed roadway. It's definitely gonna be a very low volume road, not a lot of traffic at all. So really the truck has the full width of the road to operate. Coming in, they, can make the turn, kind of make that quick little S turn, and then travel down the straightaway and completely loop around the cul-de-sac, without any obstructions or running off of pavement. So the truck can definitely enter and, maneuver through the site without having to drive on grass or with any other obstructions.
Right. So there are no hydrants here, right? No, there are no hydrants there. Let me just put it that way.
Oh,
There are
okay.
no hydrants there.
There's no
Okay.
town water on the street.
Correct. Right. So with that, if there were to be an event here, God forbid there were to be an event here, there would be more than one piece of apparatus entering down this space. So I think you can see where I'm going with this, TJ, right? So if we had to have a tanker and let's say a ladder truck and then a rescue at the same time, can you explain to me how that's going to work? Because this configuration is based on one truck.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a 20-foot wide road, so it's, not unlike most other kind of rural roads where, you have two-way traffic coming in and out. The truck itself isn't substantially wider than, a roadway lane. Again, this was just kind of rough showing that it can in fact move through the site. We didn't try to pass another truck or assume anything like that. Typically, we just want to make sure the biggest vehicle can get in and out. Again, unless someone parked right at that entrance or in that tight curve, anything along that straightaway would be easily passable if they were, pulled off to one side, as you would kind of expect they would be. And then around the cul-de-sac, there's kind of a lot of room going through there. Really no difficulty for the truck to make that full turnaround. Without getting into where any other vehicle was parked versus another, I don't know that 20 versus 22 makes a substantial difference with being able to pass a second truck around any parked vehicle.
Yeah. So my concern, TJ, is always if there's going to be more than one piece of apparatus at a scene, and if there is more than one piece of apparatus, if there's two or three, and if there's snow, all of a sudden this gets really, really tight very quick. So I'm always someone who says more is better in a situation like this, especially since there's only one way in and one way out. It's not a through scenario. So that's kind of my concern that I'll articulate right now. Thanks.
Okay. Larry, do you have any questions?
I just want to clarify a few things. Is this the same road layout that was approved with the original subdivision approval?
Yes.
Okay. And if I understand correctly, relocation of the retaining wall on lot 1 was not factored into the bond amount. Is that correct?
I can weigh in on that if you would like.
Go ahead.
Please.
Yeah, the removal of the existing retaining wall, it was part of the bond estimate, which is work that is being done to put the road in. The retaining wall that was going to be built on lot 1 is not factored because it's something that's going to be built on the lot, not on the not as part of the right of way.
Okay. And that, as to that potting shed, it looks like it encroaches on lot, well, I don't know if it belongs to lot 3 or lot 8A, but these are all in common ownership at the moment, right?
Yes, they are. Yep.
And what are those structures, if that's what they are, to the left of the potting shed?
Those are grapevines on that. They're on that as-built plan. They're just great. They're grapevines on like a trellis.
Okay, so vegetation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And you have control over removal of the potting shed?
We're not looking to remove the potting shed. We're looking to keep it where it is.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned an easement. Is that going to cause a zoning issue?
Not that I'm aware of. Maybe TJ can weigh in on that piece a little more than I can, but
Yeah, I kind of, I guess our approach to it was, the lots have been in place and the structure's been in place for over 10 years. And we really not filing for any new permit associated with that. So it was our understanding that, if we were to just have easements between the two lots, that would be acceptable. But we could flush that out further through either the building inspector or town council if needed. But again, I guess that's outside the scope of the roadway itself, and would probably have to either be handled through a building permit or any variance if they so deemed it necessary.
Yeah, no, I was gonna make that point as well. I think that's a conversation for the building commissioner. But I just wanted to understand what's going on. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Mary, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Scott, do you have any questions?
I only had I was gonna ask the same zoning question. As Larry, I think it probably is gonna be a question to the building commissioner. Or inspector, which he could defer to really town council, but, that's really my only question.
Okay, and Steve, do you have any questions?
I'm all set, thank you.
All right, thank you, Steve. And thank you, Scott. I will say I have a concern, as Peter stated, on the width of the road, especially on the straightaway part leading up to the cul-de-sac. If it was 22 feet wide, as opposed to 20 feet of pavement, it would relieve some safety concerns I have, because you get a cruiser stacked in there and an ambulance needs to get back out, you could have a problem there. I think we've covered just about everything that I have on here. I'll ask Kristen though. There is the declaration of trust for the homeowners association. Is that something that needs to be reviewed, Kristen?
Yeah, so that's, a draft has been submitted. So
Okay.
I guess we haven't talked about this really, but the houses that were built, there's no current homeowners association, right? The barn and the lot one.
no, their addresses are Newman Road addresses, so they don't, the barn will have an access off of the road to their lower level garage. So currently there is no agreement, but they would be part of the agreement because they're gonna be using this road for an access, a secondary access, but their primary address is Newman Road, so. But they can be on that homeowners association agreement with the other two lots.
Okay, so it'll be those three lots, but
It would
not
be-
the 8A.
8A doesn't need to use the road, and if that changes, they can be added in, I guess, at a later date, but as of right now, they're not going to be.
Okay, so
So,
we'll need to just review that document. Haven't done that yet with town council.
and that leads me to another question. Is there anything else on the plan that we're not seeing that, because that sounds like you're gonna need an easement. I believe an easement there, a driveway off of the road for the access to the garage for lot one, correct?
I don't think so. I mean, we'd be able to, the lot one would need a driveway entry, just like lot two and lot three do, from the roadway into their lot. I don't think there's an easement required for that.
All right, so they'll just have their own driveway access off their own property onto the road,
That's right.
which is not shown on the plan.
It is not, no, it's something we're gonna be, adding at a later date.
Okay,
There's gonna be some amendments to lot 1, 2, and 3's site plans that'll be getting submitted with, the building inspector for building permits and things coming up.
is there anything else we need to address, Kristen, at the moment? And where do we stand, I guess, as far as an update for them so that we can keep this moving?
Yeah, well, I guess the board will just need to you know, respond to some of those questions that Joe raised in terms of whether we're satisfied with the discussion tonight and, you know, the explanation, or if there's any additional change. In regards, I guess, one thing I noted was the current subdivision regulations for a cul-de-sac road, 22 feet is in our bylaw. That was not, you know, this is an approved plan, so at the time it was deemed that 20 feet was sufficient. So that's just a question that is still not resolved. But I think otherwise Joe Srwaka's comments were, you know, kind of gave the green light on most of the other issues.
If I could make a comment for a second there.
Yes, go right ahead, Ben.
As far as the road width, and I had mentioned this to you a few weeks ago in talking, Kristen, if the board wants to see the road 22 feet, I don't think anyone would, on our side, would object to that. The only thing we can't change is, at this point, without a major redo, is the width of the right of way. It's still 50 feet. Typically, the road needs to be, you know, the right of way needs to be so much bigger than the road. So if we change the road, we really can't change the right of way, but we can easily change the paving to make it comply.
I think that would be a great suggestion to show on the plans, and I understand the right of way being 50 feet is 50 feet, but I think the safety concerns, 22 feet would be better for everything, for that straightaway especially.
So, sorry, if I could ask one question, I guess, with regards to that. Again, where this has been an approved subdivision, would it be something that the board would allow us to kind of review and kind of do as a field change to widen the pavement to 22, rather than kind of resubmitting a whole definitive application, subdivision, public hearing, and kind of drawing it out, kind of just throwing it out as a suggestion.
So the question is whether you would like us to say whether this is minor or a major modification.
Yeah, I guess without having to go through the formal, you know, complete redesign, could we kind of in the field widen from 20 to 22? Realizing that it's not going to make a substantial change to the way the plans are designed currently, just widen everything out just a little bit.
How does the board feel about that as a minor modification or a major modification? Pete?
I would be happy with, as long as we agree upon it and we document that we're going to 22 feet, I would be comfortable with that and keeping this in the minor category.
Yeah, Larry?
Yeah, I agree.
Mary?
Agreed. 22 is really important and it's still minor, but yeah, let's rock and roll with that.
All right, and Scott?
I'm good with that. Thank you.
Yeah, and Steve?
I'm very good with that.
All right, so that, I am as well. I appreciate that you're willing to do
So,
that.
I just want to clarify, procedurally, I think there's a little distinction between a minor modification and a field change.
Okay,
So
Someone-
to help with that thread, Kristen, the field change that we're agreeing upon would be to be 22 feet. And therefore we wouldn't consider any major modifications to what's going on right now.
So the question for the applicant is, can they show that field change in their as-built plan rather than bringing the minor modification into a meeting to be reviewed and get approved? If you are comfortable approving it now, then I think that's what's being requested.
I'm comfortable with it, and it probably should have been formed in the way of a motion then? Is that what you're saying, Kristen?
I think what I'm saying is, would the board like to see that modification shown on a plan now, prior to the work beginning in the field?
I would, yes. Pete,
It would clarify what we're talking about.
and eventually it would end up on an as-built, final as-built plan, so. And Larry, you agree?
Yeah, I have nothing to add.
Anyone else?
I'm not
Everyone
doing that either.
Okay. All right. What else do we need to do, Chris? Yeah. Anything that you can think of?
So I guess, TJ, does that work? Can you, and Ben, can you submit a plan that shows where the 2 feet is gonna go?
Yeah, we can get that done pretty quickly. My question is, does that need to go to another meeting? Because I know the next meeting's another month out. Or can that be something I bring to you, Kristen, in the next week or so? Just to show the updates to what we're gonna do.
I think that would be
Think
in
that's up
keeping
to
what
the
a,
board.
I think that would be in keeping what a field change would be. And is that going to affect your retaining wall at all, Ben?
The retaining wall, no, it won't, because we have
Okay.
16 feet roughly from the edge of the paving to the retaining wall, which is plenty of room for us to do a natural grading, a 3-to-1 grading, so that doesn't affect anything.
Okay, thanks.
And is that going to appreciably add to your bond estimate for the road pavement?
Well, there's an additional square footage of paving, yeah, we'd have to account for. So we can resubmit that. It wouldn't add a lot, it would be a fairly minor amount of money, but there is the length of the road all the way around times a foot. So, a couple thousand square feet of paving we'd have to be adding.
Okay.
But gravel and stuff like that, the roads are over gravel to begin with, so it's just strictly the asphalt.
Okay.
But I can submit the updated cost this week to Kristen just for that additional asphalt.
So I think where we stand then is we'll have these plans noted with the changes. Have Joe take the quick peek at the escrow to make sure that's satisfactory, the extra foot of pavement. And if I'm missing anything, please speak up, Kristen. Otherwise, we should be able to get this rolling in a month at a March meeting.
I mean, if the board would like to know that, I'm happy to keep things moving as much as possible in between meetings. We still need to review the homeowners documents.
Yep.
We should get the revisions.
The plans.
We have a meeting on the 19th. We're trying to save that for the public hearing for the zoning amendments, because otherwise you guys might be sitting on the Zoom until 9 o'clock waiting to hear an item like this. So if the board is comfortable sort of giving, me the green light to review things, and if town council is satisfied with the documents, and Joe's satisfied with the construction estimate, that's an option. If you want to see everything all wrapped up one more time, my recommendation would be that happens at the March 5th meeting.
Okay. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, well, you brought up the condo documents, and I think that's important that those get looked at too. And we don't have those yet, do we, Ben?
We submitted a draft a couple weeks back to Kristen. It's a draft because we don't have any final ownership of the lots yet established, so it's just the verbiage, but without any people in there yet.
So that might be helpful, just so that is buttoned, because you don't want to have to be coming back, to us to say, hey, oops.
I assume we're
So I
gonna
think-
have to modify that several times until the final draft is approved. Wouldn't that happen at a later date, or is that not how that's handled? Just
Larry?
once you fine tune everything on there.
Yeah, it typically, would come at a later date. This is such an unusual situation here. It's, I'm trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. I mean, really, you've got an approved subdivision where you're just really here to look at the bond estimate for construction of the roadway. So what do you need from us, Ben, to get moving?
More or less, what I was told when I first started this process was the bond estimate was really the only thing of concern. Just to be, because the road is an approved road already, even though it was removed and we want to rebuild it. But more or less saying the bond estimate is good and we can start construction once the bond is paid. But I know some other little things have come up of concern, and I think we've addressed pretty much all of them tonight. And I think us adding an extra foot of paving just kind of helps for safety and meet new requirements with the road, so.
Yeah, I think I'd be comfortable, and you're right, Larry, on the bond estimate. I think, adding a foot each side going from 20 to 22, if Joe looked at it, it's only an improvement from what we saw. I think I'd be supportive of giving Kristen the green light to kind of move this project forward. And then, with the declaration and the homeowners, agreement, I think that's going to take some time. So I think I'm supportive of just following up, Kristen, and I'd just let the other board members just comment on that support.
Right, Woody, in the interest of keeping things moving, I agree with Scott.
Very good. All right, and Larry and Pete as well. So we don't need any motions or anything. Everything can move.
I think it would be great to take a vote to approve the construction estimate as modified with the additional 2 feet of pavement
Okay,
or something like that.
I will
Someone-
make that motion.
do I have a
Don't ask
second?
me to repeat it, but I'll make it.
Do I have a second?
You have it.
Okay, very good. Roll call vote. Pete,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes,
Scott,
Yes.
Steve?
Sounds good.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. All right, well, thank you, Ben, and thank you, TJ.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great,
Thanks,
have a great
guys.
night.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
That brings us to the next item on the agenda. Liaison meeting reports, Larry, ZBA.
I unfortunately missed the meeting last week, so I don't have anything to report. If I have to familiarize myself with what happened, and if there's anything of concern, I'll report it next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Conservation Commission, that would be me. We met last night. There were a few interesting things on the agenda. One was a project at Kent's Island, and we'll be going back and forth with them. We have a sidewalk scheduled. The other thing was 108 Main Street. They had they were in for an extension. It turned into a discussion. They're gonna come back later in the year for an extension because they fell into COVID tolling. So they're right now they're good till November or December. And we'll be seeing them in the fall for an extension if they need one. So on that, that's all I have there. I have MVPC, Kristen.
So Woody, just about 108 Main, my memory of the last time that was before this board was last spring, and Mr. Colantoni, in my memory, suggested he'd be starting construction in March. Like,
Yep.
coming up. Did he talk about when he's starting work up again at the conservation meeting?
In the discussion, he plans to start constructing the road in the spring. He wanted an extension for a year. But after the discussion carried on further, it was basically recommended that he come back in the fall and maybe have the extension go for 3 years, just to cover himself and, with things that could happen with the economy. At least he'd work on erosion controls and then start the construction of the road this spring, was basically the discussion. And
He's still planning to start it this spring.
yes, he is. That's what he
Okay.
stated. So he wants,
Okay.
they're gonna start with erosion control, reinforce what's been blown out, the problem areas, and work with Mason. And then they're gonna get right into the road. So it was recommended that he come back in the fall for the extension.
Okay,
So that's how that discussion went.
because he'll need to come to this board before.
He does.
Yeah.
Okay, I was
Okay.
unaware of it.
MVPC, there has not been a regional planners meeting or commissioners meeting. Both regional groups are meeting in February this month.
Okay. That
I
leads
will
us to-
share that Kayla Rennie, who you all may remember, has helped the town out quite a bit with the housing work and the MBTA zoning last year. She just had a baby boy, so that's very exciting. Just saw a little picture, looking good. And I guess the other MVPC related thing is Ian Burns, the planner, did come to the select board meeting last week and present the housing production plan as you all reviewed at your last meeting to support adoption of that plan, voted to adopt that plan. The select board also voted to adopt the plan and to submit to the state for review. And so that will be submitted next week by MVPC as part of the Merrimack Valley Regional Housing Production Plan for all the communities in the region. So I believe the state review generally takes a month to 2 months, but it's great to have wrapped that up. So thank you all for, your good questions and good review, and hopefully it'll go smoothly in terms of the state's acceptance, and then we can dive into working on a lot of the action items in the plan. So that's good news.
Well, congratulations on that, Kristen. That's a huge win, and thanks for setting the table for us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been, I think it's been over a year and a half that the town's been working on that update, so it's great. Should I roll right into my planner's report, Woody?
Just going to say that. So go right ahead. Continue on, Kristen. Thank you.
What else? There was a great Housing Choice Coalition meeting last Thursday. So the member communities are Raleigh, Newburyport, West Newbury, Salisbury, and Newbury as a part of that coalition. And support for zoning initiatives to support housing diversity and housing affordability is one of the, this is year 2 of the coalition. So that's one of the focus areas for that group's work. The coalition actually got a mini grant from some national planners association. I apologize, like Smart Growth Planning or something, to work on zoning. So I'm just staying in touch with that group as the towns are sort of sharing different inclusionary bylaws and talking about affordable housing trust funds. And, it's also work we're doing with Ian and Kayla and the folks at MVPC, but those were all identified in the housing production plan as priorities for this town to kick in with. So just the timing's good. And I continue to feel very happy to not be West Newbury, Raleigh, or Georgetown, who have not passed their MBTA zoning yet and are working on that now. It just was another time where I was just felt proud of this community that, you know, they were able to move forward. And now that the Milton decision is out, it's all the towns are saying, oh, we gotta do this now. So, and I will say, I've had a couple inquiries about some of the parcels that are in the multifamily overlay district. So it'll be interesting as the months go on to see if, you know, anything sort of trickles our way in terms of new developments that are trying to look at housing diversity and multifamily housing. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. I guess that's enough. There's a lot going on. Our new intern has started. Sadie Woodward is great. She's a couple years out of school. She's, did a lot of work in school on environmental issues and has done an internship with Ipswich River Watershed Association. She's focusing on the next plan update, which is the open space rec plan is very out of date in Newbury. And with her assistance, she's going to be working 10 hours a week, and we're connecting with all the folks in the environment program and the GIS program at MVPC and the open space committee has 5 members now. So they've been growing and getting reinvigorated, and there's just, it's exciting to see that project moving forward. And with her sort of dedicated focus on it, she'll be able to work closely with the volunteers and our partners to move that ahead. So if any of you are also interested in open space planning, that committee has room for more members, and it's, we're talking about some kind I on Earth Day for a lot of the new trails. So things are moving ahead.
I think Woody was talking to me about open space. I mean, he's got a passion for it.
You need another committee, Woody. 3 nights a week.
Me and Scott will sign ourselves right up.
Just kidding, Woody.
And I should just say, like, I forget that I may not have updated you all, but the select board did refer the zoning amendments back to the planning board for public hearing. So that all happened last week at their meeting on Tuesday night, and the legal ad is in the newspaper this week, and the zoning amendments are all on the town's website. On the planning page, there's a page that says proposed zoning amendments for ATM 2025. So those are all available for public review, and we're working on the presentation for the February 19th public hearing.
And we'll focus on all that for the 19th. That'll be basically the meat of our meeting on the 19th. So you're good, Kristen? Thank you for that.
Good.
Thank you for your
thanks.
report. And before I entertain a motion to adjourn, we have wonderful meeting minutes from January 22nd, 2025. Has everyone had a chance to review them? And is there any revisions? Please speak up.
I have a couple of minor things, Woody.
All right, great, Larry.
Under liaison and meeting reports for the ZBA, it indicates that their next meeting is January 31st, which is incorrect. It was January 30th, 30.
Okay.
And I would also suggest on the motion to adjourn that we include the time of adjournment. I think that's best practice.
Okay.
Other than that, it looks fine. The content is fine as far as I can see.
Okay, anyone else have any other revisions? Comments?
No,
I'd entertain a
Motion to
motion.
accept.
Pete with the motion to accept. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
second it.
Second, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Thank you for your revisions as well. Roll call vote. Pete,
Absolutely.
Larry,
Yes,
Scott, Mary,
Yes.
Scott,
yes,
and Steve.
Certainly.
And I vote yes as well on the meeting minutes for January 22nd. All right, if no one has anything further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second,
Okay? Roll call vote, Pete, Larry, Mary,
Yes.
Scott, Steve,
At 8:11.
at 8:11.
8:11 PM.
Thank you.
yes.
We'll make sure we get that in our next minutes. And I vote yes as well. Good night, everyone. Thanks so
Night.
much.
Good night.
thanks,
Thank you.
Katie,
Good night.
thanks, Kristen.
Thank you all.
Everybody.
Stay healthy and
Have a
we'll see
good
you.
Snow day.